41.6. On one occasion, the Venerable Kamabu was dwelling at Machikasanda in the wild mango grove. Then Citta, the householder, approached the Venerable Kamabu, paid homage to him, sat down to one side and said to him, Venerable Sir, how many kinds of sankharas are there? Let's stop here for a moment. So this Venerable Kamabu must have stayed quite long in this Citta's mango grove. So the two are probably quite familiar with each other. The previous sutta, the Venerable asked Citta a question. Now in this sutta, Citta asked the Venerable a question, a Dhamma question. Asked him, how many kinds of sankharas are there? This word sankhara can be translated as conditional, something that conditions something else. Here is translated as formations. In other place, sometimes this book translates as volitional formations. But after you see why I say the translation as conditioners is more apt. There are householder, 3 kinds of sankharas: the bodily sankhara, the verbal sankhara, and the mental sankhara. This bodily sankhara is kaya sankhara, and then this next one is vachi sankhara. The third one is citta sankhara. In the suttas, a lot of people don't notice. That's we need to study the suttas like with a comb, go through very carefully and mark those interesting things. Because I've gone through the suttas and I've noticed that there are 2 sets of sankharas in the suttas. Both sounds the same, bodily sankhara, verbal sankhara, and mental sankhara. Both also called like that. But the difference is that one is kaya sankhara, vachi sankhara, and citta sankhara. The second one, kaya sankhara, vachi sankhara, and mano sankhara. Only the third one is different. One is citta sankhara, one is mano sankhara. And when we examine the suttas carefully, we find that the second one that has mano sankhara has to do with karma. Has to do with karma, creation of karma. But the first set, kaya sankhara, vachi sankhara, and citta sankhara always occurs with paticca samuppada. So maybe some of the commentators, they were not careful, they didn't notice this. So they always say in paticca samuppada, the word sankhara means karma, creation of karma. Unfortunately, it cannot be because it's not mano sankhara. In paticca samuppada, it's always citta sankhara. So you see what are these 3 things here, it will be explained. Good Venerable Sir, Citta the householder said, then having delighted and rejoiced in the Venerable Kamabu's statement, he asked him a further question. But Venerable Sir, what is the bodily sankhara? What is the verbal sankhara? What is the mental sankhara? And Venerable Kamabu replied, in-breathing and out-breathing, householder, are the bodily sankhara, bodily conditioner. Thought directed and sustained are the verbal sankhara. Perception and feeling are the mental sankhara or mental conditioner. Good Venerable Sir, said the householder. Citta the householder said. Then he asked him a further question. But Venerable Sir, why are in-breathing and out-breathing the bodily sankhara? Why are thought directed and sustained the verbal sankhara? Why are perception and feeling the mental sankhara, mental conditioner? Here I think there's something wrong with the translation. Here it says, householder, in-breathing and out-breathing are bodily. These things are dependent upon the body. That is why in-breathing and out-breathing are the bodily formation. I think I would translate it like this. Householder, in-breathing and out-breathing are connected with the body. These condition the body. That is why in-breathing and out-breathing are called bodily conditioner. Stop here for a moment. You see, the body depends on breathing. If there is no in-breathing and out-breathing, the body will die. So, because the body depends on the breath, so the breath is the body conditioner. So the breath is the body conditioner. It conditions the body. It is not dependent upon the body. It conditions the body. And then first one thinks and examines. Then afterwards one breaks into speech. That is why here it says thought and examination are the verbal formation. I would translate as first one thinks and examines, then afterwards one breaks into speech. That is why thought, directed and sustained are the verbal conditioner. You see, before we can speak, we have to think. So, thinking conditions the speech. What you think, it breaks out into speech. You think in a certain way, it follows that you speak in a certain way. So, speech is dependent on thought. So, thought is the speech conditioner. It's not the other way around. So, thought is the speech conditioner. So, thought is vachi sankhara, speech conditioner. Perception and feeling are mental. These things are dependent upon the mind. That is why perception and feeling are the mental formation. It's not a good translation. I translate it as perception and feeling are mental. The mind depends on these things. That is why perception and feeling are the mental conditioner. You see, the mind cannot work without perception and feeling. When you have perception and feeling, that means you have consciousness. Then only the mind can work. So the mind depends on perception and feeling. Perception and feeling conditions the mind. That's why perception and feeling is the mental conditioner. Saying, "Good Venerable Sir," he then asked him a further question. "Venerable Sir, how does the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling come about?" Householder, when the monk is attaining the cessation of perception and feeling, it does not occur to him, "I will attain the cessation of perception and feeling," or "I am attaining the cessation of perception and feeling," or "I have attained the cessation of perception and feeling." But rather, his mind has previously been developed in such a way that it leads him to such a state. Saying, "Good Venerable Sir," he then asked him a further question. "Venerable Sir, when a monk is attaining the cessation of perception and feeling, which of these things ceases first in him? The bodily conditioner, the verbal conditioner, or the mental conditioner?" And he answered, "Householder, when a monk is attaining the cessation of perception and feeling, first the verbal conditioner ceases. After that, the body conditioner ceases. After that, the mental conditioner ceases." Stop here for a while. How do you understand this? This cessation of perception and feeling is the highest state of meditation. It surpasses the 4 rupa jhanas and the 4 arupa jhanas. So, you see, it says here, first the verbal conditioner ceases. The verbal conditioner, you remember, is thoughts. Okay? So, thought ceases in the second jhana. So, he has to pass through the second jhana, then the thought ceases, that is, the verbal conditioner ceases. After that, the bodily conditioner refers to breath, breathing. When the breathing ceases at the fourth jhana, so the breath ceasing is the body conditioner ceasing at the fourth jhana. Then only later perception and feeling can cease. So you can see he has to pass through the second jhana, the fourth jhana, before he can enter the state of the cessation of perception and feeling. Saying, "Good Venerable Sir," he then asked him a further question. "Venerable Sir, what is the difference between one who is dead and gone and a monk who has attained the cessation of perception and feeling?" Now stop here for a moment. Why does he ask the difference between a body that is dead and a body that has attained the cessation of perception and feeling? Because they look quite the same. When a person attains the cessation of perception and feeling, consciousness also ceases. All the 6 consciousness ceases. So because the 6 consciousness ceases, when the person attains that state, he looks like a dead person. The breathing has stopped, the heart has stopped. Everything seems to have stopped. Just like a dead person. And that's why I asked him what's the difference. And Venerable Kamabu said, householder, in the case of one who is dead and gone, the bodily conditioners, that means the breath, has ceased and subsided. The verbal conditioner has ceased and subsided, that means the thoughts have ceased and subsided. The mental conditioners have ceased and subsided, that means perception and feeling have ceased and subsided. And then his vitality is extinguished. As for a dead person, his vital energy is extinguished. His physical heat has been dissipated, and his faculties are fully broken up. In the case of a monk who has attained the cessation of perception and feeling, the bodily conditioners have ceased and subsided. The verbal conditioners have ceased and subsided. The mental conditioner has ceased and subsided. But his vitality or vital energy is not extinguished. His physical heat has not been dissipated, and his faculties are serene. This is the difference between one who is dead and gone and a monk who has attained the cessation of perception and feeling. Stop here for a moment. So you see, the difference between a person who has attained this state, this high state of perception, cessation of perception and feeling, is that when you touch him, his body is still warm compared to the dead body. The corpse has already become whole, whereas the monk in that cessation state, his body is still warm, and his vital energy he still has. That means he can come up to life again, whereas the dead corpse cannot come to life again. Saying, "Good, Venerable Sir," he then asked him a further question. "Venerable Sir, how does emergence from the cessation of perception and feeling come about?" Householder, when a monk is emerging from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, it does not occur to him, "I will emerge from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling," or "I am emerging from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling," or "I have emerged from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling." But rather, his mind has previously been developed in such a way that it leads him to such a state. Saying, "Good, Venerable Sir," he then asked him a further question. "Venerable Sir, when a monk is emerging from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, which of these things arise first in him, the bodily conditioner, or the verbal conditioner, or the mental conditioner?" And he answered, "Householder, when a monk is emerging from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, first the mental conditioner arises." Mental conditioner is perception and feeling. After that, the bodily conditioner, that means the breath. And after that, the verbal conditioner, that means the thoughts. In other words, when he is coming out of this state of cessation, first perception and feeling must come back. That means the mind starts working. Then after that, the bodily conditioner, which is the breath, the breathing, starts. That means he comes out of the fourth jhana. And then after that, the verbal conditioner arises. That means he goes through the second jhana, because the verbal conditioner is thoughts. So thoughts arise again. So he withdraws in that way from the cessation down to the fourth jhana, down to the second jhana, first jhana, and then he comes out of it. Saying, "Good, Venerable Sir," he then asked him a further question. "Venerable Sir, when a monk has emerged from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, how many kinds of contact touch him?" Householder, when a monk has emerged from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, 3 kinds of contact touch him: emptiness contact, signless contact, and undirected contact. The emptiness contact is called the sunyata phassa, I think. Signless is animita, and undirected is apannihita. These 3 are high states of samadhi. The emptiness, sunyata samadhi, the animita samadhi, and the apannihita samadhi. So because he has emerged from this cessation. So his mind has this contact. Saying, "Good, Venerable Sir." He then asked him a further question. "Venerable Sir, when a monk has emerged from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, towards what does his mind slant, slope and incline?" Householder, when a monk has emerged from the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, his mind slants, slopes and inclines towards seclusion. Stop here for a moment. So you see, a monk who has attained high states of concentration, when they come out of it, they don't want to talk to people, they don't want to associate with people, they want to be aloof because it is so pleasant. Does not experience any dukkha. So sometimes people say, some people go for retreat and then they come back, they're supposed to attain the 4 jhanas or 8 jhanas and all that. But if they don't behave like this, be aloof from people, don't want to talk with people, always go into seclusion, then not quite possible that they have attained such high states of jhana or samadhi. "Good, Venerable Sir," Citta the householder said, that having delighted and rejoiced in the Venerable Kamabu's statement, he asked him a further question. "Venerable Sir, how many things are helpful for the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling?" And Venerable Kamabu said, "Indeed, householder, you are asking last what should have been asked first. But still I will answer you. For the attainment of the cessation of perception and feeling, 2 things are helpful. Samatha and vipassana." The samatha and vipassana always come together. And in some other suttas, the Buddha says, you cannot attain liberation without samatha and vipassana. You cannot separate them. Unfortunately, nowadays, there are some monks belittle samadhi, belittle samatha and say that vipassana is enough. But it's never so in the suttas. In the Buddha's teachings, samatha and vipassana both are necessary for liberation, as seen here. So that's the end of the sutta. It's quite an interesting sutta and a bit deep also. 41.7. On one occasion, the Venerable Godatta was dwelling at Machikasanda in the wild mango grove. Then Citta, the householder, approached the Venerable Godatta, paid homage to him and sat down to one side. The Venerable Godatta then said to him as he was sitting to one side, "Householder, the measureless, here is his liberation of mind. The liberation of mind by nothingness, the liberation of mind by emptiness, and the signless liberation of mind. Are these things different in meaning and also different in phrasing? Or are they one in meaning and different only in phrasing?" This is the first one, measureless liberation of mind. The liberation of mind is Ceto Vimutti. Maybe a better translation is the measureless liberation by mind. Liberation by mind. And sometimes they talk about metta, Ceto Vimutti. It is liberation of metta by mind, or radiation of metta by mind. That means the mind radiates or liberates the metta. So here is the measureless liberation by mind, the liberation by mind by nothingness, the liberation by mind by emptiness, and the liberation and the signless liberation by mind. Are these things different in meaning and also different in phrasing, or are they one in meaning and different only in phrasing? And Citta answered, "There is a method, Venerable Sir, by which these things are different in meaning and also different in phrasing. And there is a method by which they are one in meaning and different only in phrasing." And what, Venerable Sir, is the method by which these things are different in meaning and also different in phrasing? Here, a monk dwells pervading one quarter with a mind imbued with loving kindness, metta, likewise the second quarter, the third quarter, and the fourth quarter, thus above, below, across, and everywhere, and to all as to himself. He dwells pervading the entire world with a mind imbued with loving kindness, vast, exalted, measureless, without hostility, without ill will. stop here for a moment. So that's why you see here, he is liberating metta. He's not liberating the mind, he's liberating metta. So he's liberating metta by the mind, by the power of the mind. That's why I say Ceto Vimutti is liberation by mind. It's not liberation of mind. Here it is liberation of metta by the mind. Similarly, he dwells imbued, pervading one quarter with the mind imbued with compassion. Similarly, with the mind imbued with joy. Compassion is karuna, joy is mudita. With the mind imbued with equanimity, upekha. Likewise, the second quarter, third quarter, and the fourth quarter, thus above, below, across, and everywhere, and all as to himself. He dwells pervading the entire world with the mind imbued with these four things. Either one of these four things, metta, karuna, mudita, and upekha. Vast, exalted, measureless, without hostility, without ill will. This is called the measureless liberation by mind. Liberation by mind of metta or of karuna. And what Venerable Sir is the liberation by mind by nothingness. Here, by completely transcending the base of the infinity of consciousness, aware that there is nothing, the monk enters and dwells in the base of nothingness. This is called the liberation by mind, by nothingness. Or maybe you can say the liberation by mind of nothingness. And what Venerable Sir is the liberation by mind of emptiness. Here a monk, gone to the forest or to the foot of a tree or to an empty hut, reflects thus. Empty is this of self, or of what belongs to self. This is called the liberation by mind of emptiness. And what Venerable Sir is the signless liberation by mind. Here, with non-attention to all signs, a monk enters and dwells in the signless concentration of mind. This is called the signless liberation by mind. This, Venerable Sir, is the method by which these things are different in meaning and also different in phrasing. And what, Venerable Sir, is the method by which these things are one in meaning and different only in phrasing. Lust, Venerable Sir, is a maker of measurement. Hatred is a maker of measurement. Delusion is a maker of measurement. For a monk whose asavas are destroyed, these have been abandoned, cut off at the root, made like palm stumps, obliterated, so that they are no more subject to future arising. To whatever extent there are measureless liberations by mind, the unshakable liberation by mind is declared the chief among them. Now that unshakable liberation by mind is empty of lust, empty of hatred, empty of delusion. Lust, Venerable Sir, is a something. Hatred is a something. Delusion is a something. For a monk whose asavas are destroyed, these have been abandoned, cut off at the root, made like palm stumps, obliterated so that they are no more subject to future arising. To whatever extent there are liberations by mind of nothingness, the unshakable liberation by mind is declared the chief among them. Now that unshakable liberation by mind is empty of lust, empty of hatred, empty of delusion. Lust, Venerable Sir, is a maker of signs. Hatred is a maker of signs. Delusion is a maker of signs. For a monk whose asavas are destroyed, these have been abandoned, cut off at the root, made like palm stumps, obliterated so that they are no more subject to future arising. To whatever extent there are signless liberations by mind, the unshakable liberation by mind is declared the chief among them. Now that unshakable liberation by mind is empty of lust, empty of hatred, empty of delusion. This, Venerable Sir, is the method by which these things are one in meaning and different only in phrasing. It is a gain for you, householder. It is well gained by you, householder, in that you have the eye of wisdom that ranges over the deep word of the Buddha. That's the end of the sutta. So here you see, this monk is asking this Citta, the layman, to explain such a deep subject, measureless liberation by mind, liberation by mind of nothingness, liberation by mind of emptiness, and the signless liberation by mind. These are very high states. And yet Citta can explain so well. So Citta is a person who is not only good in the theory of the Dhamma, that means he can explain the suttas and the Dhamma extremely well. And I think he also has a very good meditation practice. So because of combination of both, that's why he has attained to the state of Anagamin. These two things are very important. The understanding of the Dhamma itself, the suttas, the words of the Buddha, and then meditation practice, the theory and the practice. You can't have only one of them. You need both. Just like samatha and vipassana, you need both to be successful in the holy life. So I'll stop here for tonight. We've gone through 7 suttas of this Citta Samyutta. I think there's only 3 more in this Samyutta, I think, to discuss. So this chapter is quite interesting, quite inspiring.
Explain the situation of mind by mindfulness and elevation mind by emptiness. So this when the mind well and then meditate, and then they will face on.
These are very high states, which I think probably even some arahants don't experience, because you see in the Buddha's teaching, perfect concentration is the 4 jhanas. But there are some monks who attain all the arupa jhanas as well as cessation of perception and feeling. But it is that those higher states above the 4 jhanas are not absolutely necessary to become an arahant. So those states, like just now he says that when he comes out of the cessation of perception and feeling, then he experiences these states. So these are very high states. He's contacted by this signless, the undirected and the emptiness. So what is your question?
When you talk state, normally or very high or just like normal people will carry
No. Very high state that even some arahants don't attain. Very high samadhi states. But it is possible. But I think if a person attains these states, when he comes out of it, he should either probably be an anagamin or an arahant, because he has seen emptiness. Like this cessation of perception and feeling is a very high state. And a person attains those states, that state of cessation of perception and feeling, consciousness also stops. So when he is in that state, there is no awareness. But when he withdraws from that state, his consciousness comes back. Then he will realize that the world disappeared just now. The world only exists in consciousness. When consciousness stops, ceases, the world also ceases. So the world is like a dream state. Then he realizes there is no such thing as a self. That self in the world is just like that person in the dream. When we had a dream at night, during the dream we were very excited. We thought it's a real thing. And when we come out of the dream, then we realize, it was only a dream. And that person that you thought was you in the dream actually doesn't really exist. It only exists in the dream. So in the same way, when this monk comes out of the state of cessation of perception and feeling, then he sees the world like a dream. So that self that he thought existed doesn't exist. It's a condition only.
So Bhante, the means of man has been in the samadhi for quite a long period.
Not very long, but it cannot exceed 7 days. He can only enter that state, cessation of perception and feeling, for a maximum of 7 days. Then he has to come out of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that day we went through one sutta where we talk about emptiness, sunyata, and it's explained that emptiness, this word konga, the real meaning is that it is empty of a self. Self meaning something that is permanently abiding. that will not disappear, that will not die. But everything in the world arises and passes away. Arises and passes away just like the night follows the day. So, since there is nothing in the world that is permanently abiding, that stays the same, then so we say the world is empty of itself. That's why it says emptiness. The world is empty.
In the state of cessation of perception and consciousness, there is only different things, and the state person is there, the body of the body is actually there, and the vitality is still there. What does it mean by the vitality? The meaning is still the power, weight, and all the...
No. The vitality means the chi, the vital energy, is still retained in the cells. That means the cells have gone to sleep, but they can wake up again, just like a seed. A seed, if you don't keep the seed for too long, the seed still has vital energy, so that when you plant it in the ground, it will sprout, become a tree. But if you keep the seed for too long already, it loses its vital energy, its vitality. Then you plant it on the ground also, it won't sprout. Right? What's the difference between emptiness and nothingness? Are you talking about the samadhi? Probably mean the same thing, the state of samadhi, where in the state he feels is empty of anything, because everything exists only in consciousness. But when consciousness ceases, then the whole world is empty. And what's the other one? Empty and nothingness. But then there is a state of jhana, a state of arupa jhana, called the base of nothingness, where the mind first has to go through the base of boundless space, where the mind opens up, and then his mind is boundless like space. Then after that, he goes to a higher state called the base of boundless consciousness. Then he feels that his consciousness is boundless. No limit to his consciousness. Then after that, he goes to a higher state. He realizes that within his consciousness there is nothing. There's nothing. That's called the base of nothingness. Nothing in the sense that there's nothing that's permanent. There's nothing that is permanent.
Is this stage in the fourth jhana?
No, higher than fourth jhana. The fourth jhana is a rupa jhana. This is arupa jhana.
What does loving kindness have to do with the other three liberations?
Loving kindness is one of the four types of radiation of the mind. When that person to practice that, first he has to attain the jhana. Has to attain the jhana so that he has some strength of mind. And using the strength of mind, he radiates that loving kindness, the metta, all over, all around. As he sees the first quarter, the second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. That is, when he is thinking of metta, he radiates metta. When he is thinking of compassion, because he sees that all the beings in the world are suffering. There's a lot of suffering beings in the world. So he thinks of compassion, so he radiates compassion. So the third one, he feels joy, so he radiates joy all around. And the fourth one, he thinks of equanimity, so he radiates equanimity. This one, the four things, the loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity, you see towards the end of the paragraph, when he radiates these four things, boundless, this is called the measureless liberation by mind. So this measureless liberation by mind is supposed to be another one of those high states of liberation by mind. These are all the different types of liberation by mind. You have measureless liberation by mind. That's the first one. So this one is talking about the first one. So you have the first one is the measureless liberation by mind. Then the second one is liberation by mind of nothingness. And the third one is liberation by mind of emptiness. So each one he uses the mind to liberate whatever quality he wants. Like the first one, measureless liberation by mind is liberating this loving kindness, compassion, joy and equanimity. Then the second one, liberation by mind of nothingness. And then he thinks of nothingness and then he liberates this nothingness. And the third one, he thinks of emptiness and then he liberates this emptiness. And the fourth one is the signless. He thinks of the signless and then he liberates the mind, using that to liberate the signless. Okay? Citta and Mano. Mano is the one of the 6 sense organs. So Mano refers to the thinking faculty. Whenever we use the mind to think, to calculate, to scheme, to plan, we are using Mano. But Citta refers more to the overall mind, encompassing mind. Overall encompassing mind. Mano is thinking. Whether it's creative or destructive, it's all thinking. It's still Mano. Mano is the base. Is the thinking faculty. But these terms, Citta, Mano, Vijnana, they are all related in a way. You cannot separate them strictly into one compartment each. They are related. They are all different aspects of the mind. Okay, we'll stop here.